Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8 and Third Reich events installed, along with a few others. We're going to continue with our playthrough of the year 1937. We'll see what developments. Right now, as you can see, we just had the major factories come in down to 4.48. We have these almost out, so they're not going to, and that's going to shortly after them going to hit the cause a readjust anyway, so I don't know that they're going to go down less, if anything go up, so I figured might as well get these guys out of the way here. Get them through production for just a day or two here. First of the month. I play with monthly autosaves. Okay, now I'm going to leave them a little bit of a gamey tactic. I'm going to leave them sitting here because so long as they sit here, they won't need supplies. They won't need, now they won't get upgrades. That's the downside. They won't be getting upgrades, but they won't need upgrades. They won't need supplies, and they won't increase our consumer good demand. So I'm just going to leave them here for now. I'm not going to wait for the war to start to put them in because, like I say, they won't get upgrades. But probably sometime in 38 or something, we'll see about putting them in so they have enough time to hopefully get up there. Foreign units in the Wehrmacht. I've read several things about this. Some foreigners that were serving in the Wehrmacht or serving with the Wehrmacht, I'm not quite sure, or maybe I should say Heers, the army, they weren't allowed to have the eagle with the swastika on their uniform. These were, a lot of them were Soviet volunteers of one format or another, whether prisoners of war or just other Soviets deciding to want to join up, and they sort of became more and more official as time went on. And as I said earlier, foreign Germans, like from Hungary, weren't allowed to join the Wehrmacht. At least officially they weren't. That's why they were going into the Waffen-SS. There were ethnic groups that the SS really weren't, at least initially, willing to take in. And I don't know quite the status of, like this gentleman here, who, very small numbers in reality in Germany of Indians joining to fight alongside the Germans. Large numbers, as into the tens of thousands of Indians deciding to form, I think it was 2 or 3 divisions worth of Indian soldiers to fight for the liberation of India in the Japanese army. There may be several reasons for the different approaches, including Japan dealing with it different than Germany, but I also think because a lot of it happened after Japan secured Burma and also Singapore, that these troops likely thought that they might actually be marching into India, where the troops in prisoner of war camps might not really think they're going to be marching into India. It might also be that although there were a fair number of Indian divisions in North Africa, or regiments, or however they were organized up there, there weren't as many, and so they didn't capture large. I don't think there were any Indian units dealing with the Dunkirk situation, because the Germans captured a lot of British soldiers. I mean, they got very many out, but there were, through the whole campaign, there were a lot of British captured there. So I think it may also be the numbers down, of captured as well. But, and this is an Indian soldier, of course, but there was also various other Turkic and other ethnic minorities out there. We're going to allow it because it increases our manpower, it reduces our supplies, but whatever. The where and 5% manpower is very useful. Land organization is also sort of hurts a bit, but we have other ways that researching other texts was going to help that. So we're going to go with that. Air bases for West Germany. Yes, we will do that. And as it says, we forgot that one time, we're going to immediately go down here. Put all of these up top. So it'll cost us nothing but that's going to happen real soon, and those will also kick in. Hopefully, especially with those, will reduce our IC requirements to build ICs. Okay. Yeah, we'll take this one. I'm not going to take all the cannons this time that I was doing last time. I'm going to take some of them because they eat up a lot of ICs, but we're obviously for now we're going to keep them down on the bottom here so they don't eat up ICs that could be building ICs, but they will later eat up some ICs that could be building up other units. Britain, what do they want? We give them money for crude oil. No thank you, we're building our money reserves up. As I was, from one person asking, I know when it goes into the green like this, it's being converted over, and that takes some ICs off. What I don't know is, there are also other variables, including various strategic effects and text that you can research, including here, whether it's cheaper to allow this process to happen and take some ICs to have that happen, or if it's cheaper to build supplies, sell the supplies, and then buy oil. I'm not sure which is a cheaper process to have happen. Obviously one thing, and I'm not doing it at the moment because I'm going along my, if you will, fanatical path of building ICs. But I think these are really good ideas to do. I haven't quite looked at the math. I'm probably going to build some later on. But to be able to build those, some of those, and with all the other units that I think we need to build, and so see now we're still at 4.48 with all those airports, but this will hit there, but it kept us from going down. So those direct improvements there are another thing, partially because those are persistent. We have the cost of building them, but once they're built, they're there and they're improving. Where if we're building supplies to trade, to pay for imports, it's a constant cost. And so I'm just going to let the conversion cost happen. If somebody had some really good math and really knew that it was better to produce more supplies to sell, I would go down that path, but I'd have to have somebody really know it and put it on paper. Okay, we're going to increase our railroad network. Research. Armored car designs have improved. That's good. Okay, Belgium. Give me money for fuel. No, thank you. No, thank you, Hungary, even though we want to improve relations. 4-engine transport plane prototypes. So now we can build those heavy transports as well as improved 4-engine bomber crew layout. You may have remembered the last playthrough I think it was a total of 6 4-engine airplanes. Came in really handy. I was able to base them, I think it was here and here, and fly supplies up in there. They are incredibly useful. They're very expensive. To mitigate the cost of those, we will produce to get some of the heavy aircraft types, some heavy bombers as well, because you can see that they are 11 ICs versus 26 ICs, at least starting until we get the practicals down. 14 months versus just over 300 days. So the bombers are a bit cheaper and still useful. Maybe not super useful, but useful. Enough that I will do that. So we're going to end that. Yeah, we'll do that so we can improve the bombers later on. Horse troops. They were originally uniformed in a gray shirt with black tie. Here you can see the horse without the uniform. All political uniforms were banned in Switzerland in 1936. This was their armband for the standard horse troops, as opposed to another armband. I don't know if we've had that event yet. We'll talk about it. Either I've already talked about it, or we will talk about it in the future. This is equivalent. This is with the National Socialists from Switzerland, equivalent to their SA. So it's just an informational event that I had. There is an event in Switzerland that fires an informational event for Germany, so we know what's going on because we're supporting them, and they're developing their infrastructure in Switzerland. Now we're down to 4.47 for each IC being produced. Okay, their SA Man, it was a newspaper, was it daily or weekly, official weekly newspaper for the SA. The stormtroopers basically just helps us keep all the SA informed on how to be good National Socialist and how to beat up on people, probably, and other neat tactics like that. So it increases political indoctrination and helps our party organization. Costs us some supplies to print it, but oh well. And toughness is I think yes. This just it used to be hard coded that certain countries could research one. Toughness, increased resistance while attacking, where defensiveness increases defensiveness while defending, if I understand. Or meaning this takes less damage when you're being counterattacked or something, I forget. But you can only do one or the other, so don't bother ever researching both. Pick one, go with it. Germany, we're looking at an offensive doctrine, so we're going down that path. Let's look at improving our fighters. Now Spain. Well, the Republicans are holding on. I would have thought they would have lost. Well, only one province deep there and there. Get that cut off. And their pocket up here is shifting. Balboa in the last map I thought had a port, but I guess it doesn't now. Okay. We will no longer receive money for some supplies. All right. If you're sure, Japan. Okay, Infantry Attacks. I've read the book 2 or 3 times. I used to keep it in my car. It's just sort of get stuck waiting somewhere, pull it out, restart wherever I was reading. For you younger folks, we used to not have things called tablets and smartphones that you could read stuff off of automatically. You had to actually have a paper book and carry it around with you, and so I carried a few in my car, and to be able to read. And I hated just sitting and waiting places if I didn't have something like a book to do, and if I had a book to read that was interesting, it was just fine. No more aggravating than the normal thing. So this was Rommel's book. He was a mountain trooper in World War One. Got his pour le mérite, his blue max for taking a mountain. I believe it would probably be in right about that province or that province, somewhere right around in here. One of the highest peaks. Very good book. If you're going to be a military small unit kind of guy, you should really, like a lieutenant or a sergeant or somebody, you should really read this book. It is very good. Yeah, I'm sure it makes Rommel look better than he was, meaning it gives him off in the best light. He admits to mistakes in there, but I'm sure it's a decent amount of self-promotion. I don't necessarily think anything's a lie in it. It's just, make him look good. But he does talk about some really good, it really gives him really good lessons. I mean, whether he thought of all these things spontaneously during the war or came up with them later, or, working off of other people's ideas within the unit. And this is, as they say, how it brought attention to Rommel. And if you notice from this, all the benefits are mountain warfare, basically. Tactics, because this is not a tank book. He at this time, not that he wasn't by 1937 starting to read the available, we've talked about earlier some of the publications dealing with mobile troops, not that he wasn't starting by that time dealing with armor and mobile troops, but it had nothing to do with his book and the influence that his book had, because I understand it to be fairly well read amongst the military at the time. Yeah, just the aircraft. So as you can see, we're producing lots and lots of ICs. And I'm doing this as a significant single-minded. Okay, I'm going to say no. Hopefully saying no doesn't keep other ones from popping up. But not this one at this time, because there's a bunch of them show up. Money for fuel, no thank you. Okay, see an IC coming. Seaport capabilities have improved. I think for now we're going to stop increasing that and increase the road network, because that's naval basing efficiency, that an organ sortie penalty, that reducing the penalty, that's good stuff, but not a primary focus of what we're going to do. And I think we're not maxed it out for the whole game, but maxed it out for the build up here, because we're not looking at doing a lot of those. And yes, we will get the penalties out of the way early. Lithuania. Okay, Reich. I don't even want to go down it. Eric Schumann. He was in charge of the Reich Research Council for the Army. They were set up to coordinate military research. So basically through to the end of the game, get a leadership modifier +1. And to my understanding, it wasn't some sort of super top-down, you must research and being effective at research. It was more of a coordination, a little bit of focus, yes, but more of a coordination of various research programs. So it's a force multiplier if you look at it. That's so I look at that. SS Medical Academy basically is what that I understand translated as. Founded in Berlin, 1937. This was part of the expansion of the SS state infrastructure, if you will, of its sort of independent setup. They did this initially, I think it was primarily just to set up a doctor's corps for the growing SS establishment. Of course, we know that people like Dr. Mengele went through this academy at some point. And so I'm sure that these will only have positive benefits, and no one would abuse their positions in future, I'm sure. Right. Okay. Seaport, better trade, so 0.2% more money, 0.2% more resources to be able to be shipped in and out more effectively or efficiently. Slow creep up here of need. Make sure we're covering that. Nationalist China. No, we're not going to buy crude oil. So we're now down to 4.46%. Another event that for game-wise isn't good for us. That with burning concern is Ben Ender Surge. This a lot of people, and I would say it's a leftist, communist, post-war propaganda that wanted to discredit it was a very real attempt to discredit the Catholic Church in territories that like Poland, Yugoslavia, in which there were Catholics, as well as to limit the post-war Catholic Church influence, including in places like Bavaria and Austria, and the U.S. and wherever else. That they really, and you may have the thought that, oh, the Catholics collaborated with Hitler, oh, there are various other things like this. The opposite is very much the case. They were, I would say, ineffectual, partially because the deep-hearted evil of Nazi Germany wasn't attempting to be just or anything like that. So either you towed the line or you didn't, and this was one of the few times that the Catholic didn't, and there were some consequences to that. But the church did come out and talk about try to stop Christians on Palm Sunday in being responsible for anti-Semitism in Nazi Germany. And this was put out on all the Catholic pulpits at the time. So it was a significant thing. I'm sure a lot of people just dismissed it, but it was an attempt to you know, try to call people to reason, to humanity. It didn't really work. It caused a little disquiet, I'm sure, but it was not, like I say, effective in stopping them, obviously. But so this increases, we lose some national unity, increase some dissent because of this. So with burning concern, the Catholic Church's opposition very real to Nazis. So now we've jumped up with that. Soviet Union, give them a few of the money, sure, we won't. Battle Commander Recognition. That's good. We're going to let that continue going on because it's such a costly one, and it reduces attacks between, or reduces time between attacks, and it will also, I think, help us get some more of those battle commanders. These guys later on. Infantry unit combined arms has advanced. And jump that over to mobile units. So we're still doing pretty good, keeping the IC costs down. Okay, 24. Last one was a 28 millimeter. This is a, or centimeter. This is a 24 centimeter. Again, I'm going to say no. It tells me that we can get more of these. I just don't need huge numbers of them. I don't think I do. Maybe I'm misguided. And we'll see. Money, crude oil. Just a little too much. But let's see if we can buy one more. Just buy one to help our relations. Yeah. Good. So that's going to help our relations with Iran. As you can see, all the nations we're trading with, oh no, I want to go here. All the nations that we're trading with here, and each trade improves our relations with them. Some of them, like Guatemala, I really couldn't care about. Argentina, there's a chance that we might later influence them, or by event get them into the Axis. But places like Bulgaria, Spain, Romania, Hungary, we want into the Axis. Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, we want them slowly drifting towards us. Okay, we've now got the 1,000-pound bomb well developed, and we're going to leave that since we're still on a deficit, hoping to get back high popularity. So internal factors is pushing things down, events are pushing them up. Oh well, a little money we're not getting from Ireland. Ireland, I don't think we can ever practically get it into the Axis, even if we're occupying Britain. Ireland had a very interesting role. There were a lot of, there still are, but there were, especially back then, a lot of anti-English And there was a fair amount of IRA. I know the IRA was very much wanting to liberate Northern Ireland, wanting to cooperate with Germany to disrupt Britain's capabilities. I just don't understand that they think that Germany had any interest in Irish independence, that if Germany wanted, which, and there's real significant thought, and I think I agree with it, that Hitler liked England, not that he ever went there, but that he liked England and he wanted England to manage the other peoples of the world, if you will, where he wanted his sort of pure Aryan state. I would think that he would want Britain to control Ireland as part of that and not have it separate. Because if you're going to have an empire, you got to have an army for an empire, so it's not like you're trying to break them up into smaller, Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland to make them weak. It's keep them together for their empire, if you're going to look at it that way. Or if you're going to go world conquering Germany, which is also a possibility if it became a perceived practical idea, meaning that they invaded London and conquered the British Isles, thinking, well, maybe we'll just keep going and take the whole world. I don't think there was any real thought that they're going to stop and not take Ireland. During World War I, when the Irish rebelled with some German support, there really was, I think, a very likely chance that even if Germany won the First World War, they weren't going to be taking Britain, they weren't going to be taking Ireland. They might take some colonies, they might take, chunks of France, and they might take, chunks of, Holland and wherever else, but that they could. So the idea, they're just not, World War I Germany, the Kaiser Reich and National Socialist Germany are just two different animals, and I just can't, I guess I'm disappointed that they couldn't see that. But probably it's just they were so filled with hate for the English that they'd do anything to hurt it. Okay, air-launched torpedoes have advanced. That's good. We like that. We're going to, of course, stop the research at this moment and shift it over here to better fighters. Huff Duff. Oh, it's under escorts, right? So we've now got a lot of that. I think 138 there, so we'll wait a little bit. Those are all 38. Light cruiser. We're not going to be building many light cruisers, but we are going to want to have air defenses good on some of these ships, so we're going to research that. I know a few of you have been watching me play Call of Duty 2. First series of missions were set in Stalingrad. I talked a little bit about Stalingrad there and some of the effects around the campaign there. Recently we've been doing the El Alamein here, and I was talking about various elements of the North Africa campaign and Montgomery taking over there, if you're interested, and also watch me get shot up some and shoot up some of the opponents. No, I'm not some super great wonderful player, but I don't think I'm the worst either. So if you're looking, if you would watch something like that to see, you know, the great guys do it, yeah, it's not me, but to hear me talk about things. And I also talk about the weapons used. And like I was complaining that in 1942 in North Africa, the Germans all got MG42s. It really didn't do that. That's the 42 is sort of like adopted, I think, in 42 or something. That doesn't mean that it made it to North Africa in significant quantities to be used, if at all, and definitely not in the early campaigns. Maybe here, but I don't even think there. I think it was all MG34s. So, yeah, I'm picky like that. Money for crude? No, thank you. No, thank you. I know it means them to build another model of another machine gun and do a different cyclic rate and a few things like that, but really that much of a trouble for a big selling game like that to get it right? Maybe they're just ignorant, I don't know. Okay, yes, we're going to go build more bases in West Germany, or Western Germany. Second event of this, for this region. And we're going to kick all these up there. Boom, 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 boom. They should help practicals, plus give us enough bases to operate from. I think they're useful. I'm not absolutely sure which is the better cost effectiveness, building them manually or... Sure. Okay, we just got a bunch more factories in. Oh no, those are the air bases showing up. So 4.6, good. Where's that? No, it's 4.5. Yes, so 4.45. So we're doing pretty well, getting a lot of ICs built. Italy, what does Italy want? We'll give them fuel? Certainly, you can have fuel. Spain, you can also have fuel. My understanding what they did for the events now is that they... Well, I don't know if having TRE, you may still get Fantoma. We'll see. They may have changed which Von... I don't know, we'll see. We'll still get a Super Von Thoma back from that campaign or not. Okay, artillery unit combined arms has advanced. That is a good thing. 38. Let's see. Yeah, that's one that we want to do. But I'm also looking here to heavy armored designs of 37. The three-man turret. The three-man turret, that is something that the Germans really sort of started out. The French, up until to the start of the war, their designs was a one guy in the turret. He had to look around to see what's going on. So he was the tank commander, see what's going on each side and everywhere else. And he had to look down the, once he saw something he wanted to shoot at, he had to look down the optics for the gun, the equivalent of scope for the gun, and aim it. And then once he shot it, he had to reload it himself. So, and while he was aiming the gun and reloading the gun, he wasn't looking around to see what was going on around him. So that was a very bad thing. A few other nations had a two-man turret, a gunner who was also a loader, or maybe the commander assisted in loading, and the commander. but it really was the Germans who started with the three-man turret. So you had a commander who was situationally aware. He would be paying attention to what the other tanks in his unit were doing, where the enemy were, and what the terrain is like. You know, the driver, he's just looking ahead and seeing what's coming ahead of him. But the tank commander can look further ahead or look to the sides as if there's a better path. All that kind of stuff. The gunner, he can precisely take his time as needed to aim it, and as soon as he shoots, the guy behind him is reloading it, so he can be putting it onto the new target while it's being reloaded. Or if you need to switch, because you have a limited amount of ammunition in tanks, in games and whatever, we can have unlimited ammo if that's the way the game is set up. But there's a limited amount of ammo, so if all of a sudden you see a machine gun position or an anti-tank gun, you don't want to hit it with a high velocity armor piercing round. You want to hit it with a high explosive, because you may not actually hit it, you may hit near it, and even if you hit near it, true with high velocity, it's the impact, has a lot of kinetic energy and can spread around, but really you want the explosive effect. So you want to quickly have your loader to be able to quickly unload the ammunition from the gun and quickly store it into a safe spot and quickly reload it into the other type as needed. That you would have to do manual yourself. So the three-man turret is a tech that I entirely approve on to set things apart. Yes, by the time you get to the Sherman, the Americans are coming out with a three-man turret. Some of the British, it takes them a while. Some of the early stuff is two-man turret. The early Soviet T-34s, and we all think of T-34s, most of us picture what really is the T-34-85. That's sort of like 1944 and later. Their early T-34s, they are a two-man turret. I mean, purely and simple. You look at them, the early 76mm guns, their turrets are really small. They do sort of eventually move to a three-man turret with a 76mm gun, and then to a larger, the 85mm gun. But you can see there's basically 4 stages of turret growth for the T-34, and so that isn't really until even like 1942, because it was the winter of 41-42, and those early T-34s were all the two-man turrets that hit them in that winter, that counteroffensive that hit the Germans. So it's really sort of late 42, 43, and it was introduction of the new turrets were staggered to different factories for various reasons. I'm not sure why. You could be just simply setting it, because they were shifting factories. First you get it set up just to make, once you get it to the new place. Early ones were just literally out in the field. They had no building, no tents, just started producing tanks in the field. So you produce what your machinery set up for, but it takes a while to get new designs introduced. So, the idea that the T-34 was some early super tank like it was sort of late war, it wasn't, and it was still a two-man turreted tank. So this is why, even when the 76mm gun was a higher velocity than the 75mm gun, and even when the T-34's armor was, at least at the front, was thicker than the Germans' tank armor, and generally thicker than the German could penetrate. Most of the 37mm gun, which was standard, could penetrate on it, and that the Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs were still effective because they could see the enemy first, retreat, or move to flank them, because yes, you can hit an early T-34 in the flank with a lighter caliber gun and take it out, and you still may be taking losses maneuvering to the flank, but you have a decent chance of achieving that with the proper sets up. And the early T-34s, it was like the platoon commander or maybe even the company commander that had, maybe just in some of the cases, the company commander had a two-way radio. The platoon commander, I know this to be very much a fact in some of the earlier tank models like the BT series, the platoon commander had a one-way radio, meaning he gets to hear his instructions. He can't communicate up the chain. and the other tanks in the platoon had no radio. So the idea was the company commander would get his orders, transmit his orders to the platoon commanders. The platoon commanders would pop their body out of the tank and start doing semaphore flags. If you know what those are from Navy, I had to learn those in my ROTC days. Do the semaphore flags to tell him to change position. So all that time he's out there exposed to rifle shots, machine gun shots, sniper rifles if the enemy have them, to say follow me. And so probably a lot of them was just simply to the rest of the platoon, you pay attention to where I am and you follow me, do what I do, because I'm not going to, in reality, exercises I'll get out there and signal what to do, but reality I'm not getting out there once the fighting starts. So even when one tank commander looks out and sees Germans on the flank, he has no way. I mean, he can decide to pop his head out and start waving the flags around, and hopefully somebody, but even if the platoon commander or somebody else sees it, he has no radio to tell anybody else that there's Germans on the flank, or there's more Germans on the flank, or whatever it is. So that's the radio situation, and there are these radio techs here which do sort of simulate that. But so that's sort of how this tank development is why the Germans, even when if you look at some of the stats that they were inferior, overall they were superior, and part of it, or main big part of it, was the 3-man turret. Long way to get around to it, but there we go. Okay, and let's see, Assman and Son. I thought the name was very ironic, especially if you, as most all of us, will know English and know what that means. They were one of the main uniform providers, particularly for nice quality tailored uniforms for the SS. And as I, now that you've joined the SS, you need a spiffy uniform to have people properly fear you. Without that, why would you join the SS? I mean, really, why would you join the SS unless you want to have people fear you? So this you see the smaller example of it. I have a real period ad for SS uniforms, and how proud you will be with your nice skull cap. Yep. Okay, SSHQs gain 30 for their spiffy uniforms. Well, we can take a quick look around. Spanish Civil War, going reasonably well for, well, very well if you look at, it wasn't until basically the end of the war did the Nationalists took Spain, so they're doing fairly well. No other major conflicts going on. So, state of the world, okay, there's rebels out here, and there's rebels here, but state of the world is generally pretty good, pretty stable. Thanks for watching. We will continue this next episode. Thanks so much.